And so to Italy, land of architecture and pasta, gondolas and Catholicism, the mafia and eyeball-gouging zombies. Let us hie to Minneapolis for an introduction to Italy's premier horror meister, Dario Argento.
Dario Argento is, I think, the Gauguin of filmmakers. He's an expressionist. He has a tremendous understanding of the visual power, and he can tell a story purely visually. And in that sense, his stuff is always exciting and wonderful to look at.
Dario Argento will always be my favourite horror film director. I shall never forget seeing The Bird with the Crystal Plumage for the first time. It was such a different sort of movie. It was so shocking for that particular time that I slavishly followed his career from that moment on.
How do I open the door?
I always see it as like he takes life and betrays it with his imagination, and you know, people accuse him of having it's all style over content, and I say, well, but what fantastic style and what fabulous content.
Open the door! Open the door! Call the police! I call the police!
When you have a style exactly and clear, you're recognizable, like a painter, no? 30 seconds, you say, this is De Palma, this is Craven, this is Argento.
Trauma is a throwback for Dario in many respects. It echoes his early films, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage and Deep Red. It's a murder mystery where you really have to pay attention to what you're seeing on the screen, because you're going to see something in the film that isn't quite true.
Just leave me alone.
They're dead, you know that?
Yeah, so people die. It happens every day.
They were decapitated.
What?
I said that they were decapitated.
In Bird with the Crystal Plumage, it was Tony Musanti thinking he saw a murder in a different way than it actually was perceived by the audience. And this one, I think, is the cleverest he's ever come up with. I really do believe that. It's going to fool a lot of people.
We have so many questions. We who are gathered here.
Oh, Dario is priceless. Dario is, to me, Dario is an eccentric visual stylist genius, as far as I'm concerned. He's one of the guys that can take a limitation and turn something extraordinary out of it.
You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it.
Dario's way of working is absolutely incredible. I mean, you can read the script all you like. It won't bear any relation to the finished film as such. Also, I mean, he sort of makes things up as he goes along. I mean, the Steadicam operator on Trauma is a guy called Kurt Gardner, and he said he was supposed to be doing about 10% of the film, and he ended up doing about 25% in the first 2 weeks, and it was all very low-level stuff. This is all going to be sort of like a very on-the-ground movie, sort of looking up. He has it planned to a certain degree, but when he's actually on the set and realises the potential of it, and the way he sort of can move the sort of like the props around, then it sort of suggests more things to him, and therefore he gets even more inventive as a result.
I use every movement, I have lots of movement in my pictures because the camera is like my mind or like my eyes. And sometimes camera don't follow also the actor. Sometimes the camera goes and describe other things, other sensation, other impressions.
He goes a lot for subjective shots. He puts you in the murderer's position. He's always said that unless you can sort of respond psychologically, you won't really understand the sort of the motives of the murderer.
He does what every director would love to do, and sometimes does, and that is he'll as his head hits the pillow at night, something will fly through his mind, some creative visual vision, and he'll create it. He'll actually take it and step by step put it on the film.
Visually, this is going to be a very dark film. It's all very dark and interior, and the house and all the interiors sort of are representing the body of the murderer. This all sounds very pretentious, but the way he says it actually makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes the purpose is to look inside you, to open your breast and look inside your soul, how the color, or what's inside you, your dark side.
Violence is Italian art. I mean, that's exactly what Dario said to me once, and I firmly believe that. I mean, he's often accused of showing sort of like very pretty girls being murdered, but I mean, this goes back to the Gothic romance tradition of the damsel in distress, and I think that... And he's very informed by the H.P. Lovecraft and the Edgar Allan Poe school.
Edgar Allan Poe was also one of the first writers really impressed me, and it changed my life because it taught me to look inside me, to discover my monster, our monster, not just mine, but every people have a monster inside.
I mean, he can just sort of take a camera, point it at something, and out of nowhere he can conjure up this, you know, amazing world out of thin air almost, and I think he's about the only person who can actually do that.